Today is Saturday, the 15th of March, Ides of March, right? There's a lot that historically comes with the Ides. Also ominous, right? A little challenging. As I understand, remember the Ides? I haven't looked, remember, but isn't it have something to do with Caesar? And it was on that day, I believe. Somebody will know this better than I do. It was on that day that he was
Yes.
Yes.
yeah, Brutus.
Stabbed.
Brutus.
Yeah.
He was stabbed, right, by Brutus. And Jim says, appeared to be coming to him, which might be a part of faith.
Which was his friend.
And it was, Brutus was a friend and betrayed him. And then we have stories, don't we, besides that one? Here we are on the Ides of March talking about faith. Then we have that of Jesus, right? We know the story of Jesus and Judas, also betrayed. And in the Buddhist tradition, we don't have so many stories about betrayal from another. It isn't what the other does in this tradition. So then where would you guess most of the focus would be on this concept of faith? And of course, we'll talk about not blind, right? Not blind, because that's not the point of this. There is no belief or concept that wins out. You do not surrender the mind or beliefs to an idea, right? Ever. Like never true. And there is a very strong devotional capacity in these traditions that is faith oriented. And so what would you imagine? Where would you imagine the Buddha places his attention in relationship to faith? Yes, as an antidote, a quality of heart mind, not based on beliefs, in relationship to one's own suffering, confusion, aggression, hatred, and its end. And the Buddha himself has placed faith, by the way, in one of those lists that Jim a couple of weeks ago was talking about, like all the Buddhist lists. He places it number one on the path to awakening. This is amazing because we just said nothing to believe, nothing magical, nothing with, but then the other. And not only not the other, meaning my mother, my father, not my friends, not a deity, not any theism. Where is the faith then placed? Nothing outside. Right here, says Greg, right here in the quality and the capacity of what? One's own heart mind. This gives me goosebumps. And so Dan, who I know, good morning, Dan. Dan, who I know has strong faith. I know this about Dan. How does that fit, Dan, for you with this, the idea of your own faith in?
That we are all part of the infinite divine wisdom and power, and we are connected to that. I just tend to forget about it so many times. Yes. But that within us, we have this infinite wisdom, knowledge, yes. And I get disconnected very easily.
We all do. the point of faith isn't in its perfection, is it? And
Right.
of course, in the Christian tradition is one, of course, the Judaic tradition is another, Islamic tradition. They have lots of uh, stories, I'll call them, narratives, maybe better, about this falling from faith. And then what? The remembering. Right? Does everybody understand what we're saying so far? So the only difference is everything Dan said probably made some sense to you, didn't it? I made sense to me. And the only distinction, I think, is that we don't place in the Buddhist tradition, we do understand the divinity. Dan used that word, I'm going to stick with it. The sacredness, the beauty, the right natural order, right, of everything. The word that's used frequently in these traditions is interconnectedness, interbeing, right? And so when we remember that, and we all forget, and it's in evidence by all of the bags in the sea, right? Choking all the turtles and the whales, and we forget, right? In just one moment called throw the bag there moment, or snap at the beloved moment, or the I'm too tired, too lonely to remember. Brenton and I were just talking this morning. He was just at Mardi Gras, right? And when you're at Mardi Gras, there's two evidence for two realities, right? And they're both real, aren't they? There is the joy, the fun, the laughter, the recognizing the sacredness in everything, and the party that comes with that. And there is the dramatic vice that is also, can also be our reality, right? Now, that's not just at Mardi Gras, is it? That's happening right in our own heart minds, isn't it? That I just want it. I want it now. I want it this way. Greed. I want you to be what I want, need, what's pleasant, what I understand, what I think is reasonable in you. That leads to not only greed, then, but aggression and the ignorance that Dan was talking about, the forgetting about even looking, right? The forget to even look, to even check in on what is the quality now of my own heart mind. And every moment then, and I, because of the doubt I have been talking about for several weeks, knew that it was critical to talk about faith, because right from the moment of doubt, I have to say, my faith has been inspired. Why? Not only did I see the truth of suffering on that plane and in those spinning thoughts about why didn't I, how come it didn't, what if only I would, I didn't say goodbye to my son, I'm going to die and he'll never know that I love it, and we all have these, right? This is nothing unique to this mind at all. Because of tired and drugged and sick and 9 other things, the conditions around me, beautiful to work with, took me under. Necessarily, beautifully, because then I could see, couldn't I? Right out of them. And there was faith, actually, even in evidence there. Anybody sense where that was? There was faith. Maybe that's all that was there at that moment was faith. Where was it? Because I was under. I got a hold of my own head, pushed it all the way under, and glug glug. So where was faith even there in that moment, with that mind, in those conditions, in that suffering? Faith is in evidence here. Where? In my gut? What's in my gut? Awareness of the suffering. Yes, there was still, even in this, I'm pretty sure I'm dying. Even in this moment, there is something in me that says, stay. Stay right here. Stay. Name the thoughts. Name the body sense. Right to the basics. This is what we do in class 1 of the mindfulness-based stress reduction program. Right? Stay
Practice.
with yourself. Yes.
Continuous
And the
practice.
practice serves. Yay. It didn't mean there wasn't suffering. And I needed to be very available to seeing, how did I get hooked this time? How did this come and get me when I know cognitively, I have a little insight in my head, right, that there is the cause to this. I have a hand mind in it. And if I don't stay, as unpleasant, as fearful, as pained, as grief stricken, all of it was true, as I was, there will be no end. There will be no end. And now, because I've talked myself in the planes probably going down, I managed to construct that for myself. I felt a little compelled. And faith is what keeps me there. Isn't it? Because look at all the places you could go. Look at where right? You could be heading for the parachute. You could be right? And no, I say, stay with this, stay with this. And I have a 14-hour plane ride. This is pretty handy. There is really nowhere to go. It's a little like a retreat setting. Just you and you with you in the seat, in the Dharma seat. And it's beautiful, right? Because I keep looking, wait a minute. The past is the past. It is true. But the past is also bears witness, also has something to offer towards wisdom. Can I see it, hold it, without just condemning, without just hating? And faith is every time, Dan, right? Every time we see our forgetting and we make a commitment to coming back to the present moment, that is actually a radical act, isn't it? Of faith. Because, well, folks, there's infinite other places to go, isn't there? Yeah, Lynn.
It's almost like you're saying stay, and you're staying in your head though, because you're doing the practice.
That's right.
And like
You're counting
you're
on
trying
them.
to drop down into your open heart.
Yes.
And in the
Yes.
practice, is that?
Yeah. I was hopeful for the potential for that. I was not able to do that easily or feel for myself for a while. Let's say 14 of those hours, 13.45, probably something like that, not able to, but I do know it's possible. I do know I'm capable. I do know the practice serves. I do know there's nowhere better for me to be than right there. Nowhere better. Not in spinning and right, not in going forward, what ifs, not, I know something. And even though this moment, Dan said, I forget, something remembers, isn't it? Something remembers. Every single time then you decide to sit for 10 breaths or 10 minutes or 30 minutes, there is something in you that's operating with this understood faith, isn't there? Every time you bring your hands together, every time you bow your head, then every time you stop to look at the beauty of the world and those in it, there is an element of faith in it. but it is not then by virtue of belief. It's by virtue of experience. This is the single distinction between the theistic traditions and the non-theistic, is simply one, is I have cultivated and will continue to cultivate this experience in my own heart mind. And I know something. I know that I am, at least in this moment called these conditions, or in this moment called in retreat, or in this moment called when I've gotten enough sleep, capable. Right? Capable. This is the one act of the Buddha who, when attacked by Mara, which is the all forms of craving, all forms of greed, all forms of hatred, all forms of delusion, and the Buddha says, I will sit until the moment of enlightenment. And so guess what that moment is? Imbued with faith. I will stay, he says, until I see clearly the truth of this human life. Right? And then, as the tale goes, right? Because Mara says, who are you to be deserving of this seat? The one you're in. This seat, the one you're in. And the Buddha, right, in this, does not answer. He places his hand on the earth for it to bear witness, not just a story, not just a mind state, but the truth of all things, all connection, and all time. And the earth shakes. It's affirmation. And the Mara is gone, right? Do we all know the truth of this? You do. You do know when staying in a difficult moment with yourself, you have then cultivated every time you can in the dark night, right? In the difficulty, in the loss, in the grief, when you can stay in your own body. Abiding thus is the line in the suttas. Abiding thus, we stay with things exactly as we are. We have changed them completely by virtue of what Dan said was something divine. And even in the Buddhist traditions, they do say the language translations are something like the God within you, right? That divinity within you is born, but you have to show up completely with you, no matter how it is, as scary, as vice driven, as unpleasant, as not wanted as it is. And this is, from my point of view, vast, the most beautiful faith. And I think it's harder in the everyday. Why? Distractions everywhere.
And we're in the routine.
Yeah.
You know.
Mara everywhere. I do it like this all the time. And then why not right now? And why can't she just get her shoes on? I don't get it. This is ridiculous. Right? Honestly, particularly with teens, right? Who are just,
It's all about me.
yes. And then Greg says, and it's all about me. My comfort, my distress, what I think should be happening, the narrative of me, the movie of me, the star of the show as me. And we will all forget, particularly if we do not then devote ourselves. And I really mean this. This is where devotion comes in. It isn't devotion to something else. It is devotion to one's own goodness. Isn't it? Like, who else is going to do this if not me? Well, when I'm really in a cranky mood, my husband. Why can't you? Why can't you just do it? Why can't you just agree? Why can't you just, right? Now, who am I really talking to? Well, I got in contact with that on that plane. Why can't you just, right, get it right? Do we understand what this idea is? I don't want us to be confused, because from the point of view of these teachings, blind faith, Chogyam would call this also, another term is idiot compassion, where we just fling ourselves into situations or circumstances without attention, without clear seeing, without awareness, without what can I really do to be of benefit. And my family has, as a part of their lineage habits, the habit of running into burning buildings. This is not wise. It doesn't mean that you don't care. This is a distinction. What it does mean is everybody liked the idea of being the rescuer or the savior or the good one. Guess why? I have gangsters in my tribe, right? We were like, you got to do something to offset that, because you're killing people in cornfields, right? My people. And so there was the other side, right? See, look, really, I'll fling myself over the cliff to, at least by appearance, look like I'm okay. And we all do that too. We give too much. We overdo. Why? If we really knew who we were, there's no requirement, is there? You offer the cupcake you have, if you have one. And if you don't, if I don't have that, what I can do is offer you love, kindness, compassion. Somebody wrote me this morning, and then we're going to sit. She wrote me this morning. She has lost her husband, one of our Sangha members from LA, Marilyn. And I want Marilyn to know we're thinking about her today. And her husband was killed suddenly by a car on a bike. And her husband of many, many years died suddenly. And today is his memorial. And she wrote me today, this morning, of her memorial. And she said, I know you and the Dharma friends will be here when it's time and when it's quiet. Because it will be, won't it? It will be quiet. There will be a day when it looks like no one's and no one's here. And she says, I know I can count on you. Now, I don't think she means Diana, actually. Don't mistake it. I think she means I know these people because I know they have turned towards the difficult, because she has sat with us, right? And others. And so they will be here with me in this difficulty too. And she's right. And that's faith, isn't it? And it's not just faith in us, it's faith in her. I have this, I'm capable too. I'm going to need reminders, said Dan. I'm going to need friends to remember also, right? And that's perfect. It's beautiful. There is no difficulty. And so in these teachings, I have never offered this practice. This practice is called, can I have the Kleenex tissue box, please? Thank you. Thank you. It's wet, but it's less wet than my nose. So that works. The practice then, one of the best practices, as I looked at really what does the Buddha say, recommend for attending to doubt. And I talked about it very, very briefly in just naming the practice last week. And I thought we should practice this because it is the cultivator of great faith. And it was perfectly in line with what Dan said, which is to recollect, even when we forget, our capacities and the truth of this human life and its goodness. And its goodness. And then not only the goodness of this precious human life accorded to few, and you have heard me say this often, it is to remember the good, the qualities that are in you, the goodness in you, the care in you, the forgiveness in you, the compassion in you. And if we cannot recollect it, we will simply forget. Right? If you don't call it to my heart mind and then shine the light of awareness on it, you will forget. And so the recollection of the Buddha isn't about what? Somebody else. No other. Remember what we said? No other. No theistic other. It is about that very quality, that very capacity, that very goodness in evidence for you right now or not in you. And then we take it a step further. Does anybody guess where that goes? We're going to do it today too. Not only in the Buddha, this idea of that capacity in us all, Buddha being the idea of the awakened one in all of us. Dan said divine. Then what? We remember it as a capacity in us all. We remember it as a capacity in us. And then we remember it where? Anybody? Where else do we go? You can't leave that alone. Anybody? Where else do we go? Oh, here we go. Life, all of life, and others. You mean that guy? Not that guy. Yes. Yeah, that guy. And we all go, right? Which means what? Once again, we have forgotten, haven't we all? And then, by the way, it doesn't stay lack of faith, aggression, greed, ignorance for that guy. Guess where it comes back? On a plane headed to Auckland, New Zealand, in you, doesn't it? And we have to know, we just use those words, interconnected, interbeing. Thich Nhat Hanh used to say, inter-are. And the minute we forget, no matter who it is, we have fallen enough that we're going to have to come back around, aren't we? And confront this lack of confidence, faith, trust in us, our practice. Courtney said life itself. And then when we have a difficult moment, like Marilyn today, we forget. We go, this isn't fair. It's not right. I can't do this. This shouldn't be happening. And it isn't because that's all not true, is it? It's not because she's wrong. It's because she really does. Some part of her remembered enough to write me today to go, I'm going to need reminding, is what she was really saying, wasn't she? I'm going to need reminding because, boy, it's going to feel like the plane's going down. And there's not one thing wrong with that. And by the way, I don't know that she's wrong completely, is she? That plane, in that way, as it will be true, won't it, for us all. And this is why we practice then, says the Buddha. We practice because we all know eventually whatever you're flying in breaks. Whatever body you've got doesn't keep doing what it used to, right? Whatever relationships you had. And that's those 5 remembrances. That is the other practice. But we get this idea, right? So we want to be careful about the idea of faith. It is understood to be the antidote to doubt, but you can't paste it on. I'm a great paster. I used to eat paste as a kid. I used to eat that. My gosh. First grade, right? You can't paste it on. You can't go, now I'll just do it. I'll get active now. I'll get busy now. When the plane's going down, right? When you're already drowning, tough to learn to swim, isn't it? And in fact, mostly it's a setup. I'll do it then. And of course, I don't know if Carrie's still on, but as Carrie and Jim and I know from work in hospice, it's not the most convenient time to decide to take on faith. Not in yourself, not in the divine, not in others. And so then the teaching says, and this is in every spiritual tradition throughout all time, you may want to practice now. And what do we all say? You may want to start now. And what do we all say? I'm busy.
Gotta go to Costco.
I got to go to Costco. I got my mom coming at noon and I didn't even make the hors d'oeuvre. I better get busy, right? I've got the rug to buy, the teeth to brush, the kids to, I'll do it later. Later. And later, by the way, comes, doesn't it? It's guaranteed. Later is guaranteed. Except what were you doing? I was busy. I didn't create time, space, heart, mind, because it is what the teachings say. It is cultivated. Just because you have capacity doesn't mean it shows up for you today, unless you have continued to turn the mind on purpose in the difficulties, not in the pleasant time, not just sitting here on Saturday going, pretty, it's pretty, good garden, lovely, the gong's so nice. And it's all true, but it's not enough, is it? It will not serve you. And so thank you for being on today, because whether you're here or whether you're there, for whatever reason, we always want you here when it can work, understanding real life. And what are we doing? Busy. Busy. And again, we're all going to be busy. We just want to then be as skillful. Can't, right? Skillful. Yeah. Okay. So here we go. And so what I can never remember them all. And so I have the cheat sheet in front of me. You'll see me look at it. We're going to be recollecting the Buddha, understanding the Buddha as the capacity within our own heart minds to awaken. What does that mean? To be loving, to be present, to be kind, to be wise, to be compassionate. Those are called the 10 paramis, to be patient. And we're going to call those to mind and then see if we can't feel them in their aliveness. Here. And so preparing to sit. And if you're a little chilly, make sure you're warm enough because it will be a distraction. Finding the breath in the body. And there's no special breath here. This is one of the misunderstandings of our practice. And there's no gluing the mind to the breath. You're just noticing the reality of being alive. And then as the Buddha did on the day of his day of enlightenment, we remember that we, with intention, have chosen this seat, whether you're at home or whether you're here. You yourself have placed yourself under the Bodhi tree and have committed yourself to awakening to your capacities and then living them. This is the aspiration and motivation for all practice, for all prayer, for all vows throughout all time. That we may awaken to our goodness, the goodness of this life, even when there is loss. And the seed of goodness in all beings. We're just going to sit with that, breathe that in. Let it touch whatever it touches in that felt sense of the softened body. Recollecting this thought. Breathing it in. And then we rest in the Dharma on the out breath. We rest in its truth. And in a recollection practice, you call to mind again and again the object of recollection, the object of contemplation. And so that is the goodness, our capacity for goodness, the goodness of this life, this precious life accorded to few. The goodness directly in me. And we can even recollect a moment. I got up today to do this practice with you. You got up today to recollect goodness with and in me. And we don't only then recollect, which means call directly to mind with a repetition, a recitation, phrases, they're used frequently for remembering. You then drop beneath the words into the heart space, the softened space of the belly, to feel the truth. And it often, for me, feels softened or trembly or tender or tight. Chogyam used to say the queasy tenderness of this beautiful human life. And we stay in that heart space or wherever that is that you can make access, where you can get a felt sense. And we remember, I, we, all beings are capable of this. Even that guy. And this is where our faith comes in. Because in any one moment, there may not be too much evidence for the goodness in me, the goodness in you, the perception of the goodness of life, or the goodness in that guy. And then with each breath, we make this commitment with faith and with a certain determination and devotion to opening wider. To inviting the heart mind to get bigger. And to then, with a skillfulness, but not with an aggression, eradicate all obstruction. That's the language. We pull it up from the root, which means I have to see the truth of this doubt, the truth of this, but not that guy, and maybe then not me, in the heart mind. How we experience others is a mirror to our beliefs about ourselves, and vice versa. If I believe I am failed, others will be failed. The goodness of this precious human life and our capacity to awaken. The goodness of all those others who have contributed to awakening. to love, the happiness, to ease in your very own life. You can call them to mind. The infinite acts of love, of kindness, of compassion that has allowed you this privilege of being alive. And then remembering that I too am capable of this. And recollecting our own goodness, not by faith, not by blind faith, but by accountability. Recollecting our own goodness and its actions. And you won't have to go back very far. You could count on this very moment and your very commitment to awakening, to love, to goodness right now. Goodness in the earth and the sun and that morning bird. And your very awakening to it. And then we can continue to reflect and remember this very basic and essential goodness in all directions. The goodness in my neighbor who brings the dog in when he starts to bark during Sangha practice. That's in front of me, behind me, the goodness of my husband, who will help me with whatever the tasks of the day in preparation for our family. The goodness of all those sitting around me. committed, intentioned, caring. To propagate goodness. And compassionate action. Continue to look in all directions. Make contact and then breathe it in. You are an essential part of this whole, of this goodness. And once we have cultivated the mind of goodness by its recollection, we simply come to rest not only in the body, but in the vast open space all around, filled, overflowing with goodness. You can make contact then with the boundless nature of goodness in the space all around us. The spaciousness within your own heart mind, the spaciousness around you. And within that space, the interconnectedness in and with that goodness. And you don't have to create that connection. You don't have to knit it together. There is no suturing required. It is already so. And can you feel the truth of it? Those trees and you and the elements wholly interconnected. And as the Buddha knew on that day of his enlightenment, interbeing. And then we can even turn the heart mind towards that guy, the others that we separate from, that we disconnect, primarily, of course, out of safety. And we don't mistake, faith is not blind. We do not mistake unskillful actions as unskillful. We do not mistake hateful actions as kind. And we remember our capacity, the capacity of all beings towards goodness. And you are correct. It does not mean it is in clear evidence this moment. And still, the capacity is right here. In you and in me and in all beings. And in the suttas, it begins the Tathagata, which is the calling of that goodness, that in capacity for enlightenment in all of us. And so the word Tathagata is the calling up of that. And it says you can reflect simply on the word, and that later translated to Buddha, with then the recollections as these. There are 9. That we are all worthy, that we have the capacity to be free from greed, hatred, and delusion. By that reality alone, we are deserving. Then known as the worthy ones. And then the second trait, the perfectly enlightened one, the one who has removed all obstacles to knowledge and understands the nature of all dharmas. Perfectly enlightened ones. We too have this capacity. And in any moment can remove all obstacles to the Dharma, to the understandings, to the truth of our capacities. The Tathagata, clear, accomplished, and offers from that wisdom excellent conduct. Not only is it known, it is lived. Recollecting not on the moments where you have not accomplished this, they will be available and there, but on the ones where you have that kindness, that goodness, that compassion is in evidence and is good to be recollected. Happy one, another element of the Tathagata, the happy one, who knows the bliss of the awakened heart mind. And smiles. the knower of the world, the one who knows the characteristics of this being human, both in its goodness and in its vulnerability, sees clearly it all, not only in oneself, but knows others in this way too. And so is compassionate and kind and forgiving. Seeing the truth of not only our goodness, but our vulnerability, and knower of the world. The sixth characteristic is the unsurpassed teacher, or sometimes known as trainer, unsurpassed, meaning offering wisdom, offering the Dharma in each moment. Can work in the most challenging and difficult circumstances because the Dharma and the truth of this life being so clear. Being the goodness in the most difficult circumstance. And then the seventh characteristic, of course, being its benefit to seeing where the difficulties are and how they have been constructed and can contribute to removing those obstructions. Can see not only the good, but where the difficulty, its conditioned existence, where it comes from and can contribute to eradicating those conditions without aggression, without unnecessary harm. The enlightened one, then, who fully understands the Four Noble Truths, the path to the end of suffering, and understands the necessity for the practice, who knows without the practice, I cannot actualize this goodness with understanding. This will require effort, commitment, and faith. And then fully commits oneself to the path. Not just on Saturday mornings, not just on Tuesday mornings, but in all moments, in all actions. That is the aspiration. And then finally, the fortunate one, the one who understands that there are practices and teachings, who knows the truth of the refuge, of the capacity, truth, and the Sangha that will support us. Fortunate beyond measure. And for the last few moments, we will just rest in that good fortune. looking, remembering, that we have been offered. And we have also ourselves offered others. The earth. And this precious human life. And may this practice then be of benefit towards the truth of our capacity to awaken the goodness of all beings and all things and their capacity to awaken. And that we commit ourselves each day and then each breath to the end of suffering and the realization of true abiding happiness and freedom for us all. May it be so this very day and now. So be it. I don't know how little man knew.
He always does.
He does.
Don't know.
Oh,
Got the key.
Do not know how the dog knows. They're done. They're done with that part. It's did not ring a bell. So there's some other amazing thing there. I'm gonna turn us on. Any other, let's check our time here. Yeah, we've got a minute. And so what's your experience about the recollecting the qualities of goodness, the goodness in you, the goodness in others, the goodness in life? And can you see why it's important?
There, come on.
Greg says he's going to share a mindful moment, and then I heard somebody else come on. So whoever that is, will get to you next.
Spider there.
They're a little baby spider
Yeah, it's flying up towards.
who literally is in midair.
Yeah. And have spiders in the computers.
I definitely have spiders in my computer, all kinds of ways.
So sometimes the best teaching is the one where you forget.
Yeah.
And so been trying to get my taxes done, and tax season is upon us, and my tax guy is not well, and so we've been trying to get it done, and so we thought we were going to have it done next week. We get a message 2 days ago. My tax guy fell down hit his head, fractured his lower spine, and my immediate thought was all about it.
Mm.
And it was like, uh-oh, I'm not going to get my taxes. Uh-oh.
Mhm,
Yeah, I was like, so into me,
mhm.
forgetting about my tax guy, Jack, who's
Yeah.
just fallen and he's
In pain.
in pain. He's in the hospital.
Yeah.
Emergency. And it actually was Maureen that brought me back. And I'm going there. I'm going to, send a message out, to his wife.
Yep. Yep.
There I am.
Yep. Do we know what that is? Do you know what's at the base? I'll tell you. Did anybody hear Greg's story? His tax guy got hurt, and in the moment when he realized this might have an impact on him and his taxes and getting it in on time and all the things that if anybody knows Greg, we know he would want to do all of that and do it correctly. And instead of being able to feel for or think about Jack at that moment, Greg got lost in what about me?
I just forgot.
Yeah.
It was a complete forgetting of my inner being, my inner connection, my compassion. It was and I mean, so then when it was there, it was like, oh,
Yeah.
wow, how could I go there? How could I immediately sort
Yes.
of just be all about me with all of this practice? Ultimately went to see him yesterday, and he's going to be in hospital for maybe 4 or 5 more days. So this is serious business.
Mhm.
And I can figure the taxes out. That's a minor thing. And it's the forgetting. It's
Yeah.
what we have been talking about here. And and there was also a feeling of failure. I felt failed. I felt like, oh, geez,
Right.
all this practice.
Yes. This is where Gao comes
here's
in.
Here's a perfect application of
Here it is.
and I'm right in the middle of it. Somebody else says to tell me, hey, wait a minute. You might be off the path over there.
Just a little.
Yeah. What path is that? What's the need for it?
What path are you on now? Yeah. When we forget and then we remember and then we forget that forgetting is a part of the path and that we're all going to forget, and that then judging, condemning, criticizing, self-loathing, self-hatred, I'm hopeless, is the propagation of the difficulty, isn't it? And look at how it gets us all. It didn't only get Jack, it got you. Because then we don't not only feel for Jack in his difficulty, we do not feel for ourselves in ours. And we have no capacity yet, not because it isn't there, but because fear itself, right, will blind us. It will. And so fear about taxes, now fear about me getting it done. And then the me story Greg was saying that happens. And then the truth is, we know this by virtue of the science as well, compassion is now not possible. Not because we're not capable, but because fear, a whole other part of the brain, has no capacity for this. 0%. Brainstem, 0. None. You have to wake literally up, right? It's no joke. Wake up. You've got to go, wait a minute. Wait a minute. And sometimes we can catch that. Often, guess how I catch it? By the suffering I'm in. Not because I'm so brilliant, but because it hurts. It's scary. It's hard. I feel isolated, alone, without resource. That's the nature of fear, isn't it? That's how you know you're there. And then if we're too well practiced, we can spin a very beautiful me story around this shouldn't be happening to me. This isn't fair, right? I pay him good money. And I'm not saying you thought that. We all do whatever we, right? And then if we're doing it in the moment called my plant fell over yesterday in the wind and broke, right? And then I walk out, and what's my first brainstem thought? How could this have happened? What? What do you mean? There's wind? There's how could this have happened? How? And I'm going, gosh, we've lived here 40 years. In all the 40 years we've lived here, well, that's right. Conditions like this moment, right? And don't we all do it? We go, wait a minute. I should have either been different. It should have been different. This is not actually accurate. The conditions are such that that plant finally, right, went over. What all the causes and conditions are, I'm not sure. It doesn't even, right? But to go, okay, wait a minute. Can I wake up? Can Greg wake up when he realizes I got lost in a moment in what about me? Now we're all going to do it. This is actually not where our problem is it? Because we're all going to find ourselves in those fear-based moments. That's why we're going to do the book Smile at Fear, so that we can wake up right in the moment of fear. What a beautiful teacher that is, right in its grip, and then stay with ourselves. That's the benefit of the faith we're going to cultivate, and the devotion to the path, which means no matter how scary, no matter how hard, no matter how much I didn't like it, I'm going to stay. Right? And I'm going to commit myself to waking up. Just here like this. And then from my point of view, you shut up. Beautiful. Right? You go, rather than propagate this, not only it's already happening in mind, rather than manifest it now with language, with belief thoughts, with storylines. How come me? Why couldn't you just, right? To recognize any of that and to feel, really to come home, feel for oneself critically in this moment of suffering. And I call it out now because it's helpful. This is a moment of suffering. This is a moment of suffering. Can I recognize this and be here? First and necessarily, says the Buddha, with oneself, so that we do not propagate unnecessary harm, which is happening even when Jack didn't hear you. Jack didn't hear you, right? Jack doesn't know. You do. Greg heard Greg and went, "Ugh." And then we have to feel for ourselves more, don't we? And then what? Can I recognize this as a moment of humanness, a moment of vulnerability, a moment of fear? And can we call it out? Because if we can then respond. Can't you? Because wouldn't you just offer yourself to anyone who has fallen? You would, right? It would just be natural. Well, wait a minute. Let me get you back up. And we can do that to ourselves. So this is the practice on the spot to work on. Can I recognize and then call out? And for me, because I have such a big mouth and because it helps me a little bit more, I call it out. I say it out loud. This is a moment of difficulty. Can I be here with myself? And then can I recollect, even if I am not capable in this moment, because it is a moment of fear, I am separated from my greatest capacities. Can I call them out to remember them? I am capable of compassion. I'm capable of kindness. I am capable in this very moment. Even with this. And by the way, if you don't do it, you're too busy. You got caught. You're still working on the appetizer, and now you have caused real harm. The harm has been caused. By the way, it wasn't to Jack, was it? It was to you. Wait a minute, what happened? How did I get so caught or so lost? And can I come back to myself, that goodness in me, inherent, always available, always present? Goodness in me first. And if you don't take the time for it, the answer is no. The answer is simply no. Then you can't. And then not only will you not be kind and compassionate to you, what's the consequence? It spreads like all dis-ease, doesn't it? It spreads, right? So we know this to be true, don't we? Yeah. Is anybody confused? If you're doing something else, you are contributing to your own harm and then to the harm of others. And we don't want to propagate this. Why? We are already living in a world, aren't we all, where we go, there is too much hatred. There is too much enmity. There is too much greed, as Brenton and I talked about in New Orleans, right? It's just like a greed pool. You're just in it going, wow, is this, right? When I was in Waikiki, I was overwhelmed by the greed and by the aggression that then came. People literally pushing each other out of the way to get to things, right? And we know we too are capable of this, as we are capable of its end. And we have to remember the whole story. That is where doubt and faith come together, doesn't it? I remember, yes, I did forget on a plane for a lot of hours with some things happening. And I am also capable of remembering. And then not only remembering what I said at the beginning, I am more committed, more inspired than ever, because I realize there are, even with 30 years of practice, right? The work, the path is here, isn't it? There is no number, there's no day, there's no now I got it, there's no, and we don't have to fake it. It's better, isn't it, in us all? We were talking, then we got to go. We were talking about Chogyam Trungpa the other day in our board meeting, and we were talking about his humanness, weren't we? And we were talking about how could someone so deficient, so addicted, so be also so wise? And it is the separation, isn't it, between knowing something and living something. And the separation of those two things can be vast. By the way, it is vast in me. Right? I know this no, right? I believe it even. I have faith in it. Crunch right over. And I have to be open to it all. And that's why we bring compassion on the path as well, don't we? Because we can know something and not yet live it. Right? And so isn't it true? Right, Dan? Yeah, we forget. I know it, and yet I'm not yet completely capable of realizing it in every moment. I suppose that's why we're alive, isn't it? So that we can go, and this one? And how about now? Compassionate here, loving here, present here. Oh no, opportunity. What an opportunity. And then look at our commitment. We're going to turn right towards it. We're not going to go, but it was them. It was Jack's fault. Jack got sick. The dope. Tax guys aren't supposed to get sick. Okay. Right? We're not playing that. We're not propagating. We're going, whoops, wait a minute. something in me, and rather than become hateful towards oneself, aggressive towards oneself, we go, can I remember fearful like this? Because if I can remember that with all the years of training, practice, and commitment, that I can fall into fear, then I can understand how that guy falls into it too. And without right commitment, the teachings, the Sangha, all that it takes to hold us, we go, well, sure, easy to fall over, easy to get caught in greed, easy to get in New Orleans and go, oh my God, the human race is going to hell here. And it's not true, is it? And it's difficult. Yeah. I'm going to read this quickly and then we're going to say our prayer and be on our way in this beautiful day. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for offering those thoughts and prayers to Marilyn and to Greg in his moment of difficulty. And we need them all. We need them all, don't we? We need the big ones. The big ones are here. And then these little moments, seed moments, we call them, where we can catch it and go, that I can see this so good, that I can awaken so amazing, because then I don't have to propagate that. Right? And my guess is, I know this for sure, Greg will never do that quite in that way again. It'll never happen just like that. Right? I will never fall into doubt quite in the same way that I had, because what? I have seen it, I'm attending to it, I'm committing to its end, and I'm going to keep working on that. Yeah, and all of us. Okay, here we go, folks. The Bodhisattva prayer. Why? Because we're all Bodhisattvas. You didn't even have to pick it. You didn't have to go through the ceremony. You didn't have to have your hair cut in order to realize this goodness. It is already true. Goodness towards you and goodness towards others. And it is the path for us all. May I be a guard for those who need protection, a guide for those on the path, a boat, a raft, a bridge, for those who wish to cross the flood. May I be a lamp in the darkness, a resting place for the weary, a healing medicine for all who are sick, a vase of plenty, a tree of miracles. And for the boundless multitudes of living beings, may I bring sustenance and awakening, enduring like the earth and the sky, until all beings are free from sorrow and all are awakened. May we all be happy. May we all be free from pain and suffering. May we all be joyful, grateful, and glad at our good fortune and share that good fortune with others. And may we rest and dwell in the vast open arms of equanimity, holding all beings until all are free from greed, hatred, and delusion, and all. May it be so this very day, this very breath, and may it continue. So be it. Thank you all. Before you click off, I know we have Philabelli this Thursday. I don't know that we have all that we need.
We don't.
We do
have-
not have all that we need.
Not yet. We could use one side dish.
We need a side dish,
two desserts.
two desserts,
And we're still short 2 cases of water and 2 cases of Gatorade.
and we're still short on the beverages,
Yes.
Gatorade and waters.
Yes.
I need some help. We need some help.
I'll chip in the water and the Gatorade. I'll pick that up this week and I can take it over to your house, Lynn.
Okay, so, okay, I'll be in contact with you.
She's
Tanya.
gonna
Yeah.
contact you,
Yeah.
Tanya,
Yeah,
about that.
for sure.
Okay, that's a lot of water and a lot of Gatorade, so.
Yeah.
Tanya,
Isn't it like 2 cases of water and 2 cases of
yeah,
Gatorade?
that's a lot for you.
Yeah.
Let's
That-
just pick one, but you work that out with Lynn.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
okay.
All right, we need some servers.
yeah, we always need servers.
We always need
And anybody
servers.
that's coming, if they want to bring family members, that's very.
If you want to come with your
helpful.
family member, please
Mhm.
do. So we need your help for this. And before Thursday, we need to
Yes.
know that you are going to be contributing. Does everybody have Lynn's phone number? Or do you want me to write it here? Because what
Write
the
it
work
here.
is to contact Lynn. Does anybody need that phone number? 858
245
245
1478.
1478. Please contact her, reach out. We need your help for this Thursday from 6 to 7:30. Feeding our unsheltered friends with food and fellowship. All right, everyone,
Are
please.
you still, are you still needing a personal volunteers or do you still need money?
We need anything you can bring there. We could, the money is less critical, but we can always use that too to buy stuff. We actually could use bodies and some support. So if you can
Okay,
do
I'll
it,
contact you about a body and I'll for sure send some more money.
thank you very much, Brad. We will be purchasing probably the other side of those drinks. Because we don't want Tanya taking that all on herself. Thank you so much. But you know, showing up is really good too. I hope you guys got Lynn's number. I will look forward to seeing you there. And if not this time, we have a date, April 17th, I think. So be looking at that one if you can't do it. All right, everyone. Blessings to you all.
Thank
Be
you.
well. Be well, everyone. Good to see you,
Thank
Dan.
you. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.